Trump has signed the Board of Peace. Very controversial, some of the people that he's asked to join. Also, he has struck a deal, apparently, to buy parts of Greenland and build the Green Dome. What does that mean? And today, America has officially left the World Health Organization. We're going to give you a full recap of the World Economic Forum, shocking comments from Elon Musk at the WEF, and of course, our old friend Yuval Noah Harari makes a unbelievable proclamation when it's in regards to AI. That and more, we got to cover it tonight. Let's go.
You're watching The Big Picture.
So here we go, y'all. Here we go. I've made no secret about the fact that I voted for Donald Trump. That I am, for the most part, and I say that in air quotes, a supporter of Donald Trump in many of his conservative policies and decisions that he's made. I am by no means a yes man when it comes to Donald Trump. There are things that he has done that is very questionable. And the one thing that has given me the most pause is this so-called Board of Peace. And I want to know right off the bat in the live chat what you think about the Board of Peace. And it's just interesting to me that of all the places for him to sign the Board of Peace and to launch it, if you will, officially, he did it at the World Economic Forum. Now, I was driving, not watch, but listen. I did listen to his entire speech at the World Economic Forum while I was driving on my way to Mississippi to help a brother set up his studio to launch his YouTube studio. And I was very excited to help him do that. But for the most part, I was agreed with what he was saying there in his speech. I love the fact that he went into the lion's den and basically just lit them up to their face. I do love that because I am not a supporter of the World Economic Forum. But here we go. At the World Economic Forum, President Trump launched his promised Board of Peace while at Davos, which was very shocking to a lot of people. U.S. President Donald Trump launched his new Board of Peace on Thursday at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. He personally hosted a signing ceremony for the founding charter of his body dedicated to resolving international conflicts, which has $1 billion price tag for permanent membership, calling it a very exciting day, long in the making, while boosting its chance of becoming the most consequential board in modern world history. Of course, he signs and ratifies the Board of Peace Charter, officially making the Board of Peace an international organization. So here is a little clip of when it went down.
Congratulations, President Trump. The charter is now in full force, and the Board of Peace is now an official international organization.
Interesting. The president noted everybody wants to be a part of the Board of Peace, but its efforts will not be exclusive, saying he will continue, to work with many others, including the United Nations. Just 1 year ago, the world was actually on fire. A lot of people didn't know it. Trump told the audience in Davos while reassuring them things are really starting to calm down. On the Ukraine war, he said the one I thought was going to be an easy one has turned out to be probably the most difficult. Trump reaffirmed the Board of Peace will start with a focus on Gaza, but then look globally. Associated Press notes, quote, I think we can spread out to other things. As we succeed with Gaza, we're going to be very successful in Gaza, Trump said. We can do numerous other things once this board is completely formed. Let's listen to the wording of this. We can do numerous other things once this board is completely formed. What are these other things? We can do pretty much whatever we want to do. There again. Shocking words. He promised again to work in conjunction with the United Nations. That does not sound encouraging to me. though he still criticized the United Nations for not doing enough historically. Okay. Quote, I think the combination of the Board of Peace with this kind of people we have here, coupled with the United Nations, can be something very, very unique for the world, Trump said. He thanked the attendees of the ceremony, including former UK Prime Minister Tony Blair. Another red light for me. Thank you, Tony, for being here. We appreciate it. He is a true global government guy. Okay. The BBC reports the Board of Peace will be made up of world leaders and was originally conceived as part of the plan to rebuild Gaza. But its mandate and geopolitical ambitions have now become widened. 7 countries, including Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Turkey, and Egypt, previously announced they would join the board. Israel has also publicly confirmed its participation, as Breitbart News reported. A number of countries has already signed up, including Morocco, Belarus, and Bahrain. Canada, Russia, and the UK are among nations to have also been invited. However, former Secretary Yvette Cooper told the BBC the UK wouldn't be a signatory immediately, citing concerns about its involvement, the involvement of Russian President Vladimir Putin. Yes, Putin was invited to be a part of this Board of Peace as well. The Board of Peace's framework includes a dedicated Gaza Executive Board. This will be responsible for overseeing all on-the-ground work of a Gaza administrative group, according to the White House. Trump is named as chairman and separately as the U.S. representative, and has the authority to appoint executive board members and create or dissolve subsidiary bodies. The White House has already listed 7 members of the founding executive board, including U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, World Bank President Ajay Banga, and former UK Prime Minister Tony Blair. Now, we're going to go deep on this. All right. So I want to know right off the bat, what do you think about this? What is your opinion in the live chat? It's very, very interesting to me. Little CBS News covered this, and let's see what they have to say about it here.
President Donald Trump leads a signing ceremony for the founding charter of his Board of Peace. Leaders from Morocco, Argentina, Armenia, Jordan, Qatar, and other countries joined Trump for the signing. Missing the ceremony, notably, though, the U.S.'s European allies. So far, none have signed on to the board. The White House says the board will oversee Gaza's reconstruction. The president also hinted at wider ambitions. Let's bring in Seth Maskett, who is a professor of political science at the University of Denver. Seth, great to be with you. Thank you for being here. First, tell us a little bit about the makeup of this Board of Peace. What do you make of the countries that have signed on and the ones that did not even show up to the ceremony?
Well, the invitations were sent pretty broadly, but a lot of the ones that have signed on so far include a fair number of authoritarian regimes, places like Hungary, the UAE, Bahrain, Qatar. A lot of the people who have sort of stayed away from the signing ceremony and have resisted joining are a lot of like Western European democracies. These are countries that have usually a stronger say in the UN, and they're somewhat wary of this. They're wary of the fact that Russia has an invitation. They're wary that people like Belarusian dictator Alexander Lukashenko is involved. I think so. They're just sort of waiting and seeing what happens.
A lot of them have to get approval from their own governments before they can sign something like this as well. It's worth noting Trump is leading this new board, and it's important to note that he has the power to veto decisions, approve the agenda, invite new members, and also dissolve the board entirely. And he also can designate his own successor. Is this a direct attack on the United Nations, do you think? What do you make of this power dynamic that he's creating?
I think we can see this as consistent with an approach Trump has had in a number of areas, basically to either delegitimize or replace existing institutions, replace them with something that is much more central around him. We can think of him incorporating ICE to replace the role of local police departments, renaming the Kennedy Center, replacing the East Wing of the White House with the ballroom. What we're seeing here is that this is a very, the Board of Peace, as he's describing it, is very personalistic, around Trump. It names him the inaugural chairman for life. He can appoint his own successor, as you remarked. His own son-in-law is on the executive committee. And
so I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to ask you guys what you think about the role that Jared is playing. Many people are believing that Jared, I've heard, look at, you see in this image here, he's in the background here. Jared seems to be involved in everything. Okay. You remember when Donald Trump decided to run for a second term, that he, of course, won. Jared was asked and Ivanka was asked about their role that they would play versus what the role that they played in the first administration when they had actual administrative titles. And Jared said, I have no desire to be involved in the administration whatsoever. Well, maybe he doesn't have an official title, but ladies and gentlemen, he's more involved in world politics and the negotiations of peace deals, Abrahamic Accords 2.0, and of course now the Board of Peace than ever before, and now he's a board member. So some people are saying that Jared could possibly be the Antichrist. I don't know. Look, nowadays you just don't know, okay? I think it is very interesting that when you study the days of Noah, that you find out that the Watchers came across during the days of Jared. Yeah, interesting indeed. Now, don't go anywhere and don't check out, because we're also going to talk about what has now come out, that we supposedly have sealed the deal with Greenland. And then when I show you tonight what is going to happen, it's going to be the last thing I show you, what Noah, as he say, Yuval Noah Harari, the wonderful, wonderful person. Of course, I say that facetious. That is the, I believe the dude's demonic. The things that he says about AI, but he is demonic, but he is also a voice that's showing us and revealing us. I believe he may be, if I don't know if Jared Kushner is the Antichrist, but I tell you what, right now, my nominations for the false prophet is Yuval Noah Harari. Okay. So let's watch a little bit more of this, and then we want to get into Greenland.
The money situation is a little vague right now, and some of that, will at least could come to him, or at least is somewhat under his control. And importantly, there may very well be a new Democratic president in 2029. If this Board of Peace continues at that point, Donald Trump could very well still be the director of it, and for life.
All right, so you hear what he said, for life. President Donald Trump was asked today, does he think that he should have authority to be the chairman of this board even after he's no longer president? And his answer was, we'll see what happens, but I think that this position should be for life, that he should be the president of the Board of Peace for life. What are your thoughts on that? Interesting. Well, if you haven't had a chance to subscribe to our channel, if you're new to our channel, go ahead and subscribe now. We make no bones about it. We make no apologies that we look at the big picture of the world and what's going on through a biblical lens, because, the Bible tells us, as in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the days of the coming of the Son of Man. And we believe that everything that can be shaken, Hebrews chapter 12, is being shaken until that which cannot be shaken remains. And I'm telling you, Bible prophecy is falling. It's just dropping like flies, y'all. It's incredible. I mean, you can't even keep up with it. It is the year of acceleration. I truly believe that 2026 is the year of acceleration of darkness, but also acceleration of glory. You need to decide which side you're going to be on. There's no fence straddling. Okay, so we come to this channel. You come to this channel to be told the truth. We're going to give our opinion, and when we give our opinion, we'll let you know that it's our opinion. But when we look at Scripture and we see Scripture being fulfilled right before our eyes, we're going to tell you that as well. And I believe this Board of Peace is the precursor. You take the Board of Peace, you take the Genesis mission. I wasn't even planning on talking about this, but most of you guys that are followers of this channel, you know all about the Genesis mission. Hang on just a second while I do something. Stay right there. Okay, here we go. So I want to remind you guys, you take the Board of Peace being led by President Donald Trump, as I have said, I am still a supporter of, for the most part. But I also look at that he signed an executive order on November 24th, the week of Thanksgiving, called the Genesis Mission. And when you hear what Yuval Noah Harari says at the World Economic Forum concerning AI, and then you understand that our president gave basically total authority and access to AI, to the actual codes of AI, to all the data of the United States government, it's mind-boggling to me that the Genesis Mission, of all things to be called the Genesis Mission, and when you go into to whitehouse.gov and search in presidential actions, read the Genesis Mission for yourself. It is chilling. It is, and then you compare that to the book of Revelation and the book of Daniel and some other prophecies, it's mind-boggling. Okay? So yeah, it's very, very, very interesting. Now, let's move on to the next item. Trump has now said that he has sealed the deal for Greenland. You know, I'm telling you, you got to say this about President Donald Trump. He is the art of the deal maker. I'm telling you, he goes all in. He throws all his chips on the table, and then he just throws it up against the wall. Says, "Let's see what sticks." But y'all know one thing: I'm going to do what I said I'm going to do. It's going to happen. He gets up there in his speech at World Economic Forum, and he says, "Look, you can do it the easy way, do it the hard way. We need Greenland, and it's going to happen. No matter what you say, Denmark, it's going to happen. No matter what you say, Greenland's going to happen." I'm not here to defend him. I'm just telling you, the man says what he says, and he does what he does, and there is no middle ground. So before the day was over with, he was saying had a press gaggle where he's saying there's a deal being done. He goes around Denmark and makes a deal with NATO. So let's watch and let's see what this is all about. Trump says he has a Greenland deal that will give the U.S. Cyprus-style sovereign base areas, report as being said. This is all happening in Davos. The United States will be able to buy sovereign base areas in Greenland that will become legal U.S. territory. Watch this. Forever. He said this is not no 90-year deal, 99-year deal. This is forever. It will be codified as forever under the terms of a NATO-brokered deal at Davos. A framework for a future deal negotiated in meetings at Davos Summit in Switzerland this week will see the United States get a sovereign base area modeled on Britain's military bases on the island of Cyprus, it is stated. While these bases are not on the British mainland, the UK owns approximately 3% of the island in two enclaves, which are legally and internationally recognized as overseas British territory. So this is based on that type of premise deal, a Cyprus-type deal, U.S. and Greenland. Trump at Davos says, these are the things that we want. Let's play this clip. This is what he said in his over hour-long speech.
All we want from Denmark for national and international security and to keep our very energetic and dangerous potential enemies at bay is this land on which we're going to build the greatest golden dome ever built. We're building a golden dome.
So he goes on to say that, we don't want the whole island. We just want the areas of the island that we would need to build the Golden Dome missile defense system. He calls it the greatest that will ever be built. So apparently he has secured this. The New York Times claims that several officials who says that they were present at the Trump-NATO meetings talking about America's need to enhance its Arctic security and position on Greenland, who say the, quote, deal unveiled by President Trump yesterday is Cyprus style. One is said to have called it a Cyprus base concept, and the other is reported to have called the framework modeled on Britain's base in Cyprus. British conservative broadcast The Daily Telegraph cites its own source in the meeting who told the paper the deal would stop short of the complete sale of the entire Greenland island to the United States, but would instead involve those sovereign base areas based on the British Cyprus model. If the American enclave in Greenland were large and well-sited enough, the report states the sovereign nature would mean there could be nothing stopping the U.S. from using the land to also prospect for mineral wealth as well as using it to secure America's national security. Indeed, if the United States managed to buy the 1% of Greenland, a country that is statistically speaking essentially uninhabited beyond a dozen towns, it would give America a sovereign base area nearly the size of the entire state of Maryland. As reported, President Trump hailed the model deal on Wednesday. Although he didn't give away much of what it would involve, he did say terms would be forever. So not a lease, and that the other parties to that would be involved in the Golden Dome, and they're going to be involved in mineral rights. So this is a negotiation with NATO, and this would be forever, and this would be to build the Golden Dome there. But of course, it's also saying the land that is purchased for the Golden Dome, they would also have the rights to pursue mineral extraction as well. Yeah, very, very interesting. It's a good deal for the United States, United Kingdom. This is what it's modeled after. And of course, they're announcing the framework of the future deal regarding Greenland. So what do you think about it? Tell me in the live chat, tell me in the comment section, what do you think about the fact that there is supposedly a framework in place for the United States to do the unthinkable? That was the unthinkable to the world. The world was saying, you're being silly. What is this idea about buying Greenland? Well, come to find out, there again, it looks like this is typical Trump. He's saying, look, he came up and said, hey, if we need to use military force, we'll take military force. It will be done. He kept saying that. No matter what you say, listen to me, look at me right now. I'm telling you, it will be done. We will secure the region. Now it's coming out and being said that it's not just Greenland, that this is negotiated with NATO because this involves the Arctic region. So the Secretary General, if that's what his title is, the leader of NATO, has been going on different news organizations and saying Trump is right, that the Arctic is, I think you're saying 8 nations have access to the Arctic Circle, of which 7 are in NATO and 1 is not. And the one that is not is Russia, that has access to the Arctic Circle. And he said, if I could insert one more, I would insert China, simply because maybe they're not in the Arctic Circle as far as their mainland, but they have increased their military presence greatly inside the Arctic Circle. So the leader of NATO is saying, yes, Trump is right. We don't want to give them the right to buy the whole nation of Greenland, but there needs to be a defense in place for the Arctic Circle. So apparently this discussion is being that, as culminated in America saying that they're being given access to certain pieces of land around the perimeter, I would assume, of Greenland to build United States bases beyond what's already there. But more importantly, to build parts of the proposed supposed Golden Dome that would be a defense system similar to the Iron Dome in Israel. But what Donald Trump is saying is on another level. I'm sure it will involve AI. I'm sure that it will involve advanced drones and robotics and missiles. But I also believe that it will involve space. I also believe that it will involve satellites and that it will involve the ability to stop supersonic missiles from penetrating the Western Hemisphere as well. If you think about it, Donald Trump has made it very clear that he is on a mission to protect the Western Hemisphere and get Russia and China out. That's what Venezuela was about ultimately. And now, that's at the south. Now we're dealing with Greenland at the north. So we're going back, the so-called Monroe Doctrine that protects the Western Hemisphere. Of course, Donald Trump has renamed it to the Donroe Doctrine. He says this is the new Donroe Doctrine. I don't know if you've heard that yet, but he's the one that came up with that term to call it that. But very, very interesting what is going on. So in 1 week, he goes to Davos, in my opinion, a very demonic area that has been setting the demonic agenda for the world for decades now. I think it's 55 years now. Of course, the founder, Klaus Schwab, the perfect image of the Bond villain that has led it from its beginning, was ousted this year. suggesting that for nefarious reasons, for whatever reason, he served his time and they got rid of him. Now they bring in the CEO of BlackRock, Larry Fink, and I believe a CEO of Nestle. I think, not 100% sure, but Larry Fink is the face of it. So he's, in my opinion, he's the de facto replacement for Klaus Schwab. And BlackRock was everywhere. And you're going to see Larry Fink introduce Elon Musk. He's the one that introduced Donald Trump. And of course, Donald Trump just praised him as just a great friend and a great man to lead the World Economic Forum. You know, Donald Trump is just an interesting character on just so many levels. He just gets up there and just blisters their hind end. Okay, that's what we say down here in Alabama. And then he comes right back at the end and says, "You're just beautiful people. You're just amazing people, and I just love all of you. And you're going to do some great things for the world. The greatest minds of the world are in here. Just listen. I know I just spanked your rear end. I just know I called you all stupid and idiots, but I love you all, and we're going to do great things together." And then he takes their stage. Ladies and gentlemen, he takes their stage, the World Economic Forum stage, to sign his bill, and has in the background the World Economic Forum logo as well as the Board of Peace logo. So, yeah, there's just never been anybody like him. But then, you know, while we are still talking about World Economic Forum, because it doesn't actually officially end until tomorrow, this happens. The process for the United States to leave the World Health Organization, which, by the way, do you know where it's located, where it's headquartered? Anyone want to know where the World Health Organization is headquartered? Ding, 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 ding. Geneva, Switzerland. So, yeah, so on the northern end of Switzerland, he's up there signing a board of peace and telling them all that your global agenda is over. It's dead. Your stupid windmills are ridiculous. He called them all stupid if they have windmills. All this Green Deal. He literally said at the World Economic Forum in his speech, your new green scam is the greatest scam in the history of humanity. All of that. And then on the southern end of Switzerland, the finalization of the 1 year, because it took 1 year for it to be, I guess, finalized. And that year concluded on the week of the World Economic Forum. How cool is that? And I don't know how you feel about it, but I don't think the World Health Organization is an organization about health. I don't think it's ever been about making people healthy. It's been about control from the very beginning. And it's, you know, the pandemic treaty that they pushed through without the United States gives them authority that's like when you go back to 2020 and the wah and the jab and all that, it's next level. It's 10 times the authoritarian. So the process to leave, for the United States to leave the World Health Organization, concludes 1 year after he had signed his exit. It's set to formally conclude on Thursday, today, a year after the U.S. expressed its intent to depart the United Nations agency, and a year and 2 days after the President Donald Trump signed an executive order to begin the process. He began the withdrawal process the first day of his second term in office, signing the executive order alongside similar decrees exiting the Paris Climate Agreement. Trump has initially withdrawn from the WHO during his first term in office, but former President Joe Biden chose to re-enter the organization, costing Americans tens of millions of dollars. The WHO's leader, Director General Tedros has spent much of the past year warning that the withdrawal of the member state that previously spent the most to fund the agency would prompt a financial catastrophe that would significantly damage the WHO's ability to respond to health emergencies. Upon withdrawing both times, however, Trump argued that it was precisely the WHO's incompetence in responding to health emergencies, particularly the Wuhan coronavirus pandemic, that informed the decision, WHO. The United States noticed, blah, blah, blah. In addition, the WHO continues to demand unfairly. He goes on just blistering them. And, of course, talking about China. And, it says the Reuters news agency reported on Thursday that America still owes the WHO $260 million. WHO told Reuters it would discuss the situation in the next executive board meeting. Does not have any enforcement arm to coerce countries into paying alleged debts. Just as the world was starting to recover, sudden and severe cuts in foreign, blah, 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 blah. So you know what? You finally had somebody to stand up to you. So I'm leery of the Board of Peace, but leaving the World Health Organization. Yep. I agree with that. All right. Now, y'all still with me? How many still with me? Come on. I'm telling you, these are Bible times. You better get your heart right with God. You better look at the world through a biblical lens, because if you don't, you're going to be in a mess. Okay. So here is the guy I was talking about earlier, Larry Fink. This is the CEO of BlackRock. This dude's not a good dude. Okay. He wants to bring down capitalism. I don't care what he says. He's certainly not a person for, I think, free speech. He's not a person for free worship of whoever you want to worship, freedom of religion, and 100% he's not a believer in Christian values. I believe he is a tool of the beast system, looks like many of these are. In fact, I'll just go ahead and say that almost, I don't want to label every, because I don't emphatically know, and I can't speak for somebody's spiritual state, but I can tell you from their actions, almost every single person that took that stage in Davos this week, for whatever reason, there might be a handful that was not, but most of them were being used by the beast system. The World Economic Forum, the Board of Peace, the World Health Organization, the United Nations, the World Bank, all of these are all separate streams of control that will be unified under one system pretty soon, called the beast system. All right, so Elon Musk was also at Davos, which I did not know that he was going to be in there. I had looked at the guest list, and I did not know he was going to be there. I just want to play just a few minutes of this interview that Larry Fink had with Elon Musk, and then don't go anywhere, because the next video I'm going to show you is this one right here, which is wild. What you're going to hear, Yuval Noah Harari, the anti-God voice of the World Economic Forum, says about AI is mind-boggling. And it will tell you exactly where the true heart of the World Economic Forum is, because he's the spokesman for it, basically. All right, so let's watch this right here, a little bit of Elon Musk with Larry Fink.
And few people, if not anyone, has the experience and the fortitude to confront these issues head on. Not just the ideas, but the execution across so many different technologies, Elon. And that's why I thought it was important for us to have this dialogue here in Davos. So you're presently building on AI, on robotics, on space, on energy, all at the same time. When you look across those efforts, what do they have in common from an engineering standpoint?
Well, they're all very difficult technology challenges, but the overall goal of my companies is to maximize the future of civilization, like basically maximize the probability that civilization has a great future, and to expand consciousness beyond Earth. So if you take SpaceX, for example, that SpaceX is about advancing rocket technology to the point where we can extend life and consciousness beyond Earth, to the moon, to Mars, eventually to other star systems. And I think we should always view consciousness, life as we know it, as precarious and delicate, because to the best of our knowledge, we don't know of life anywhere else. You know, I'm often asked,
This is very interesting in light of the disclosure that is coming in 2026, and in light of the hundreds of whistleblowers, people like Marco Rubio, the existing Secretary of State, and many 1- and 2-star generals and retired people in military, what they have said about UFOs, aliens, and the coming disclosure. Listen to what Elon Musk says here.
I don't know of life anywhere else. You know, I'm often asked, are there aliens among us? And I'll say that I am one, but...
Or you're from the future.
They don't...
Do you think what? I am one. Now, of course, he's trying to be funny, but is he? Now, you're going to hear what he says after that, but Do you think they just happen to say things like that being funny at Davos? Let's back it up.
Don't believe me, and I'll say that I am one. Are there aliens among us? And I'll say that I am one, but
or you're from the future.
They don't believe me.
Okay.
What do you think about that in the live chat? He just kiddingly says, I am one, but they don't believe me. And Larry Fink says, and that maybe that you're from the future. They're just laughing. They're just laughing at disclosure. They're laughing at people that believe that there are spiritual beings at work here. Interesting comment to say at all of all places, knowing the whole world is going to carry your words.
But I think if anyone would know if there are aliens among us, it would be me. We have 9,000 satellites up there, and not once have we had to maneuver around an alien spaceship. So I'm like, I don't know. Bottom line is, I think we need to assume that life and consciousness is extremely rare, and it might only be us. And if that's the case, then we need to do everything possible to ensure that the light of consciousness is not extinguished, because we're effectively, the way I view it is, the image in my mind is of a tiny candle in a vast darkness, a tiny candle of consciousness.
And the words that he's using is so interesting. A tiny candle in a vast of darkness. Now, for those that believe that aliens are transdimensional and not transplanetary or transcosmic or whatever you want to call it, one of the things, and I consider myself to be one of those, is one of the things that we say is, yeah, there is no recorded instance of anyone ever seeing a craft in outer space, but there are millions that have seen them in our heavens, the atmosphere. So the argument is that they're not from other planets entering into our atmosphere. They've been here all along, and we're seeing them in the sky, in our sky, and assuming that they're coming from other planets, but maybe they're just moving around here. Thoughts?
That could easily go out. And that's why it's important to make life multiplanetary, such that if there is a natural disaster or a man-made disaster on Earth, that consciousness continues.
It is important that if there is a mass casualty event, that we can create an interplanetary distribution system so that consciousness, not life, notice the words that he's saying. He's not saying humans. He says that consciousness would be able to survive on other planets. And what does that mean? Does that mean that his idea is to use Neuralink to download the consciousness of a human being, put it into AI, and then some kind of cataclysmic event is going to come, in his opinion, in the future, and that we would be able to send that consciousness with AI to another planet? Sounds like, to me, what he's saying.
That's the purpose of SpaceX. Tesla is obviously about sustainable technology, and also at this point we've sort of added to our mission sustainable abundance. So with robotics and AI, this is really the path to abundance for all. If you say, people often talk about solving global poverty, or essentially how do we give everyone a very high standard of living. I think the only way to do this is AI and robotics, which doesn't mean that it is without its issues. I mean, we need to be very careful with AI. We need to be very careful with robotics. We don't want to find ourselves in a James Cameron movie.
Yo, I'm telling you, these words are not accidental. There are messages all through what he's saying. We don't want to end up in a James Cameron movie. Well, what is he talking about? He's talking about Terminator. And he just said, I think we need to look at ways to make humanity better, to be more sustainable, to have enough food and all this. And he says, and I think the only way that we can save humanity is with AI and robotics. But we have to be careful so that don't end up being in a James Cameron movie.
Terminator. he's great movies. Love his movies, but we don't want to be in Terminator, obviously.
No, we don't.
But if you have ubiquitous AI that is essentially free or close to it, and ubiquitous robotics, then you will have an explosion in the global economy, an expansion in the global economy that is truly beyond all precedent.
Elon, can that expansion be broad?
Yes.
Or is it narrow? And how can that be created? How can it broaden the global economy?
Yeah,
So people are commenting. You can't see it, but look, this is real. This is real. People are commenting that the whole time. I see it in live chat that he's sitting there. His hands are like this the whole time. The whole time. They just see if it's covered up by the graphic. But see, look. I know that sometimes people just have their hands this way, but Elon Musk knows what he's doing. The whole time. He goes back to it. He knows that people are analyzing his every move, but he's sending signals. What are your thoughts? And look, the whole thing is like, it's like 40 minutes long. I've only shown you just a few minutes. And he's already said, I am an alien. I tell people I'm an alien. They don't believe me. Larry Fink says, or that you're maybe from the future. Time travel. He's throwing up signals. He's saying the only way that humanity can be saved, not destroyed. He's speaking out of both sides of his mouth. The only way we can be saved is through AI and robotics, but we have to be careful with AI and robotics as it's saving us, or we might end up in a James Cameron movie, Terminator. Well, the World Economic Forum may have seemed like because of Donald Trump just tore up the apple cart. There's no doubt about that. And they're trying to sound not as goofy as they have been before, but they are only showing you what they want you to see. You have to go and look at and dig for yourself. And I've been doing that, and they're still as goofy as ever. They're still as demonic as ever. Their agenda has not changed. They're just trying to go underground a little bit while Donald Trump's president and while the liberals are not in power like now. But look, y'all, their agenda, they're still headstrong, wide open turbo speed to 2030. So then that brings us to our favorite false prophet, okay, if you want to call him that, Yuval Noah Harari, that I want to show you what he said about not only AI, but about the Bible and about God at the World Economic Forum. And he did that. But before I do that, I want to tell you that you're not going to hear about anything except what the Bible says about end times prophecy at the first ever Big Picture Bible Prophecy Conference. In fact, it's the first one at Solid Rock Church, the church that I pastor in Birmingham. We've never had a prophecy conference, but we are going to have our first one, and it's just in just a couple months. March 27th, 28th, and 29th. Friday night, Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, Saturday night, Sunday morning, Sunday night. Roundtable discussions, Q&A discussions, in-depth teaching, panel discussions, as well as keynote speakers where they're going to come up. We got Paul Begley, which we know and love here. Everybody knows Paul. Tony Merkel, phenomenal man of God. Joseph Z., one of the greatest men of God I've ever known in my life. Alan DiDio, same. Alan DiDio is an incredible man of God, a walking Bible, and he knows Bible prophecy forward and backwards. And, of course, me and my wife will be there as well. Go to prophecyconference26.com, prophecyconference26.com. By the way, it's linked in the description below, so you don't even have to type it in. And when you go there, you'll see it's going to take you to this page. It's going to have the breakdown. And then at the very bottom, you got hotels if you want to come and stay with us and information. But here's the thing that, I'd rather you come. Nothing is like going to be like being in the room, because you can't experience the talking to these guys, meeting them, talking to them one-on-one afterwards. But when you click on buy tickets, guess what you get? You're going to get for $79 the entire conference. Most conferences cost 3 times that much. $79 for the whole conference to come. If you would like to get the streaming option, we've made a streaming option for $29. And that's going to be behind a paywall. You say, why is it behind a paywall? Why don't you make it for free? Because if we made it for free, you don't even have any idea how many times I have to parse my words when I'm on this show. I have to be careful not to say what I want to say so that I don't get kicked off, so that I don't get flagged. It's happened to me when I first started out. I didn't know what I was doing. I have to be very careful with those words. We're not going to be careful with our words there. We're not going to tie the hands of any of these speakers. They're going to be able to speak to what is really going on in this world. You're going to want to be in that room to take notes because it's going to be phenomenal. And but we put it behind a paywall so that if you want to watch it, you'll be able to go into a secure area of my website the day that it launches and be able to watch it unfiltered. And you'll have access to replay it as well. $29, man, you can't beat that for that many conferences. So I'm not apologetic whatsoever for the prices that we're charging because it's worth it. And if you don't believe it's worth it, then you don't really want to be invested. Now, you may not be able to afford it, and I understand that, respect that. But if you don't think it's worth it, then I don't know how in the world you're going to be equipped in this last day, because apparently you're not buying books, you're not studying. You say, well, I got my Bible. Well, praise God. That's the first book and the main book. If it ain't in the Bible, then this man's opinion. I get that. But the Bible tells us, how can they believe in what they have not heard, and how can they hear without a preacher? That's what the book of Romans says. He says he's given us apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastors, and teachers for the equipping of the saints for the work of the ministry. So there is a principle in God's word that, yes, he gives us his word, but he also gives us people to break down the word and show us what the word is saying. And that is absolute Bible. Okay, so let's get back into this. And I hope that you join us, man. It's going to be amazing. ProphecyConference26.com. All right, so I always want to call him Noah first, but his name is Yuval Noah Harari. Now, this is not that important in the context of what I'm going to tell you, but you got to know something about this man. He's standing at the podium, really tiny right there. He's going to zoom in just a minute. He is married to a man. He is a Jewish person. He lives in Israel, I believe. He's married to a man. He is an absolute flaming atheist, okay? He is not an agnostic. He is an atheist. And he's not just an atheist. He's a militant atheist. He hates the concept of God. He loves to mock God. Now, he mocks all religions, but of course, no surprise, he loves more than anything to mock Christianity and the Bible that we believe in. Now, the words that he's about to say is going to blow your mind. All right, so this is a topic called AI is not a tool. It is an agent that can rule humans. So let's go to the first part here.
About AI is whether it can think. Modern philosophy began in the 17th century when René Descartes proclaimed, "I think, therefore I am."
Now I'm going to stop it. If I stop it on an important part, I will back it up and let you hear it without my commentary. But the reason that I want to stop it right here is remember how powerful the words "I am" are. Okay. So Moses is at the burning bush. He is being told by God to go to Pharaoh and tell Pharaoh, "Let my people go." He's like, the people will not believe me. They will not believe that I've come from God. How will I even tell them your name? What is your name? And he begins to tell them, you tell them that I am sent you. So I am is the name of God. Yud He Vav He is the name of God. It is what they call the great I am, the unspoken name of God, the holy name of God. That's why it tore up Jesus tore him up when he said, when he's teaching, he says, before Abraham was, I am. When he said that, it was just like, knocked them backwards. They couldn't believe that he had the audacity to say it. And that's when they began to label him a blasphemer, because he said, listen, y'all talk about Abraham before, and yes, he was a great man, but before Abraham was, I am. Notice he didn't say I was or I existed. He said I am, and he did that on purpose. And then, of course, the famous I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man gets to the Father but by me. So when you start really looking for it, you will see so many movies and TV shows, especially superhero shows. Look, I was a Marvel fan. I watched every single Marvel movie in the Marvel universe, the first one, before they just went way woke. I love superhero movies. I'm unashamed, unapologetic on that. But I'm telling you, they was full of predictive programming. So many of those so-called superheroes, which are types and shadows of little g gods, they would say, I am, all the time. You hear I am all the time. And when you really start listening for I am, you will hear it as a code. And it's usually always, I'm proclaiming myself to be God. So he leads by saying, you all know the saying, as I think, therefore I am. And that's key to when you hear what he's about to say about AI and thinking. All right, let's play it.
Proclaimed, I think, therefore I am. Even before Descartes, we humans defined ourselves by our capacity to think. We believe we rule the world because we can think better than anyone else on this planet. Will AI challenge our supremacy in the field of thinking?
Will AI challenge our supremacy in the area of thinking? So he says, we as a species, this is what he's trying to say, the only reason human beings rule the world over other animals, other mammals, is because we have thinking ability much greater than they have. They can still think, but they cannot think like we think. So what happens when an entity can think more than us? Do they become the ruler of the world?
Now, that depends on what thinking means. Try to observe yourself thinking. What is happening there? Many people observe words popping in their mind and forming sentences, and the sentences then forming arguments like, all humans are mortal, I am human, therefore I am mortal.
Look at it just in this one sentence here of this ancient philosopher. I forget what his name is. Therefore, think, therefore I am. All humans are mortal. I am human. Therefore I am mortal. Look at all the I ams. Now, here it is. Wait for it.
Thinking really means putting words and other language tokens in order, then AI can already think much better than many, many humans. AI can certainly come up with a sentence like, AI thinks, therefore AI am.
What?
Some people
look at this.
Argue.
This is what shocked me. I paused it right here. Look what it's got the image of the robot. Things coming out of his mind. Listen to how he words it. AI thinks, therefore AI am. Not AI thinks, therefore AI is. I've never thought of this until he said that, how the word AI will play into AI am. What? Tell me in the comment section right now, are you shocked by what you just heard? Is it clicking now? When the false prophet creates the image of the beast and causes the image of the beast to speak, and the world has to bow down and worship this image of the beast, proclaim their allegiance to the image of the beast, and take a mark that represents their allegiance to this supreme thinker. AI thinks, therefore AI am.
Therefore AI am. Some people argue that AI is just glorified autocomplete. It barely predicts the next word in a sentence. But is that so different from what the human mind is doing? Try to observe, to catch the next word that pops up in your mind. Do you really know why you thought that word, where it came from? Why did you think this particular word and not some other word? Do you know? As far as putting words in order is concerned, AI already thinks better than many of us. Therefore, anything made of words.
Look at the symbology. The hands opening up. This is demonic.
Will be taken over by AI. If will, therefore, anything made of words will be taken over by AI.
Okay, y'all, you're not ready for this. Do not get off this channel yet. You're not ready for what he's about to say. Anything that involves words will be taken over by AI. Get ready for this is the bombshell of this show right here.
If laws are made of words, then AI will take over the legal system. If books are just combinations of words, then AI will take over books. If religion is built from words, then AI will take over religion.
What? If religion is based on words, AI will take over religion. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's based on God, but the word of God is what tells us about God and about everything else. And our entire view of the world is a biblical worldview, which is words. And he is openly saying at the 2026 Davos World Economic Forum, telling that room, no one's shocked, no one's walking out, everyone's loving it. AI is going to take over religion because it's going to rewrite your Bible and take over the words that your religion is based on.
This is particularly true of religions based on books, like Islam, Christianity, or Judaism. Judaism calls itself the religion of the book, and it grants ultimate authority not to humans, but to words in books. Humans have authority in Judaism not because of our experiences, but only because we learn words in books. Now, no human can read and remember all the words in all the Jewish books, but AI can easily do that.
Wow.
What happens to a religion of the book when the greatest expert on the holy book is an AI?
Wow.
However, some people may say, can we really reduce human spirituality to just words in books? Does thinking mean only putting language tokens in order? If you observe yourself carefully when you're thinking, you will notice that something else is happening there besides words popping in your mind and forming sentences. You also have some non-verbal feelings. Maybe you feel pain. Maybe you feel fear. Maybe love. Some thoughts are painful. Some are frightening. Some are full of love. While AIs become better than us with words, at least for now, we have zero evidence that AIs can feel anything. Of course, because AI is mastering language, AI can pretend to feel pain or love. AI can say, I love you. And if you challenge it to describe how love feels, AI can provide the best verbal description in the world. AI can read countless love poems and psychology books. And
so, ladies and gentlemen, you can watch the rest of it yourself. Just search for Davos, Yuval Noah Harari, 2026. It's very troubling. But at the same time, let me just tell you what else it is. It's actually exciting. It's to the believer, to the true Bible-believing believer, to the watchman, to those that are awake and not woke. Yes, this is concerning. And there is a level of, not fear, but there's a level of just the hair standing up on your arms. I mean, it's chilling to think about what's coming, and it can be overwhelming. But to the believer, when I say it's exciting, it doesn't mean that I'm excited about all the bad things that are going to happen as a result of it. It's exciting because that means that God has chosen us to be alive in this moment, to be his voice, to be his hands, to be his feet. When you started hearing me a few weeks ago talk about 2026 going to be the year of acceleration. I'm not proclaiming to be a prophet or anything, and that's some kind of deep, powerful word anyway. But I believe it's being played out right now. We're seeing, what is today? At the time of this live, it's the 22nd day of the year. You can't even tell me, I can't tell you. I've covered it, and I can't even tell you the monumental things that have happened this year. I can't even tell you the monumental things that have happened this week. I've covered right now in the last 2 days, not weeks, but in the last 2 days. Donald Trump has codified and signed and established a global entity called the Board of Peace that he's the president of, and says he's going to be a lifetime president of it. And it started out about Gaza, but he's openly in the charter saying it's actually about the whole world. It's about bringing peace to the whole world. I read about that somewhere in the Bible. Then you have him, basically getting Greenland, like he says he's going to, leaving the World Health Organization, establishing himself as the world global leader. You have Elon Musk declaring that, laughing and joking about the fact that he's an alien or a time traveler, and that we need to take consciousness out of human beings and put it on a ship and take it to another planet. And all this happened at the same conference. And then you have Yuval Noah Harari saying AI is going to take over everything that's based on books, and makes a point to break down how it's going to take over religion. And basically, when no discussion of disclosure, then you put UFO disclosure with that in 2026, you get this movie that's coming out, Disclosure Day, Steven Spielberg, you have all this stuff happening. That's why I call it the year of acceleration. And I'm thankful that we're together. I'm thankful that we have a safe place where we can come and we can talk about these things and not be afraid to talk about them. I'm thankful for the conference that we got coming up that you can be a part of. But one other thing that I'm thankful for is I'm thankful that you can go right now, as of right now, it hasn't been taken down yet. You can go to my website, LarryRagland.com. It's a hub for everything, for watching, listening, reading things that we've got to equip you. You can pre-order my book that's coming out in April that I'm so excited about, The Final Floods. I believe it's going to be so timely. Man, when I was writing it, I knew it was going to be timely. I had no idea how timely it was going to be. It's coming out in April, but you can pre-order it now. You can click on it and pre-order it now if you'd like to, and just go ahead and be in the queue when it comes out. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to stretch your faith. I want to encourage you to go to events and then click on the Big Picture Tour. And I want to encourage you to make a decision to go to the Holy Land in the year of acceleration. It is big. It's huge. It's not cheap. It's going to take a lot of effort and a lot of work. But Sandy and I are going to be leading our first team ever, along with our friends Paul and Heidi Begley. And we are going to be going to Israel. And y'all, we're going to have our own bus. We're going to do life together. We're going to get to know each other. And we're going to walk the holy places of the Holy Land together. I would love to have you with us. So go to events, click on the Holy Land, the Big Picture Israel Tour. All the information is there. You can click on it and see the itinerary. It's so amazing. When you click on there, you'll see everything that we're going to do, all that's included. It's just incredible what we're going to be able to do together. And then, of course, you can register. Registration is open. Look at there. There's the gates of hell. This is the Garden of Gethsemane. I mean, it's just amazing. I hope that you get to go with us. And if you consider partnering with us financially, sending a gift to our ministry, thank you so much. We appreciate all of our partners more than we could ever say. We don't hound on money here, but we're not afraid to talk about. If you would like to sow a gift, we certainly appreciate that. Thank you for joining us tonight. Comment and let me know. Do you believe it's the year of acceleration? Do you believe the beast system was kicked into high gear at the World Economic Forum? Let me know what you think about Trump's Board of Peace. Even if you're a supporter of Donald Trump, does that trouble you? Are you a fan of the Board of Peace? How do you feel about it? Does it concern you? Does it concern you that Putin has been asked to be on there? Does it concern you that many Islamic countries and then Israel? I mean, it's just a crazy thing, crazy world that we live in. I love you guys. I appreciate you so much from the bottom of my heart. I love my Big Picture family. We'll see you next time. We always want to remind you, we ain't woke, but we certainly are awake. God bless.
Help us build the Big Picture family. We're on a mission to wake up the world to what is really going on. Go to LarryRagland.com to give a one-time gift or become a monthly partner. Any amount blesses the entire Big Picture family. While you're there, pick up our book, I See Greatness in You. Browse our merchandise store, connect on social media, and get on the Big Picture mailing list at LarryRagland.com. Join us and be a part of the Big Picture family, where we ain't woke, but we are certainly awake.